Joe and Jenna. Okay, today I want to talk about tenacity. And most of my guests have got to where they are through sheer persistence, hard work, and refusing to give up. But that endurance, it takes its toll.
It's quite interesting, actually. I think tenacity has two different aspects to it. Sometimes it's that bit that nobody sees, isn't it? That we just have to keep going. It's not the bit at the end. It's not the launch of something. It's not that exciting moment. It's that grind that's underneath everything that you do need that sustained energy for.
It's what I often say to people when people say, what does it take to get to wherever? And it's one of my top 3, right? Tenacity. You just need to have to be able to keep going.
Grit, isn't it?
Grit.
Yeah.
But it kind of sits in contradiction to a lot of the other things we talk about, which is, people pleasing and saying no and all the rest of it. But you kind of need it.
Well, I think there's a difference between grit and maybe hustle, for example.
Okay.
So, and where I see it is, if you look at athletes,
yes,
what they do is they're not saying I'm not going to try and be number one, because they're going to try everything to be number one. But what they know is that they've got to dial in their recovery. They've got to dial in the things that are going to really get them through to those moments. And what we don't tend to do all the time in our culture is really look after those moments. It's just the work, it's the grind. That's the important thing. And that's not quite true all the time. And that's not to say that we haven't all been there ourselves. Like 100% have recognised myself in that. I used to be a teacher before I was a nutritionist, and my goodness, the grind it takes.
What should we do then? Because you're right, it is about looking after yourself, replenishing, giving yourself what you need so that you can continue to push through and do what's required of you. So what should we be doing?
Like seasons of life as well. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of science now that validates that 40 is a bit of a watershed moment. We don't need to see that as a negative. We can actually see that as a positive. And that's due to our evolutionary past, where our ancestors might be lucky if they made it to 50. So evolution was like choosing genes that would optimize that first half of life. Make sure you get to 50, you've passed on your DNA, keep the population going, and then anything after 50 is a bonus. There was not the same selection pressure, and we call this antagonistic pleiotropy. It's like the genes that help us in the first half of life sometimes can work against us in the second half of life.
Ooh,
it's really interesting.
Tell me more.
But I think we often...
it might be just throwing some words in that are meaningless here. Is that what sort of burnout happens?
I think it can be more common in this,
Second
after
half.
40.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Roughly, here in the UK, the lifespan is roughly 80. So we can take 40 as a kind of line in the sand where you're at your midpoint potentially. And, the body can just recover better before 40. Everything's kind of designed to sort of grow and recover and succeed. And after 40, I feel it's a sign that you can still do and go after all of the things you want to do, but you've got to give the body a bit more love.
Yeah.
And your body will tell you if it's not happy. All of us can sort of anecdotally reflect on, can't deal with not getting a good night's sleep the same as when I was 25, or alcohol doesn't land the same as when I was 25. It's not that we don't have the ability to do those things, but it's just like we need to make sure, just because our biology, it's new territory for us as human beings, because we didn't live that long before. So we've got all this extra time. We have a real obligation, perhaps you could say, to respect our body for the second half of life. So we can still have an amazing second half, do some amazing things. Life doesn't finish at 40, but it requires different things to look after ourselves.
So you're not I guess I wanted to just discuss the difference between pushing through on adrenaline and cortisol. I feel like I'm very good at that.
Yeah. It's almost like the emergency energy system, right? Which your body can use very well. But it's a little bit different to the mitochondrial energy that might be more like underlying, which we can feed and make sure that we've got, plenty of energy behind that. So supporting our muscle health, making sure we've got the right nutrients in, getting adequate protein every day, all of these things contribute to that underlying energy source.
Yeah. Has the body got 2 modes of energy generation? One that burns fast and bright and depletes quickly, and the other that's slower and more sustained?
Yeah, I guess so.
Or maybe there are many.
Yeah, I think energy, as we think of it in terms of like the laws of physics, we have this kind of simple energy in, energy out equation. But how the body activates energy when it's needed is actually really complex, and I think it's something that science is still understanding. Like you know, we all have experienced those moments when there's an emergency and you might be asleep in your bed, but you suddenly have to leap out and like, you know, something has to happen, and you might be feeling really tired, but then you get a phone call from your friend with some amazing news and you're jumping up and down. It's like we can adjust our energy based on what our needs are. And I think, you know, I've spoken to, one conversation that always sticks in my mind was a doctor who was working like 70-hour weeks, loved his job, and he felt so full of energy, even though, you know, the shifts were long. It was like tiring work. And then he retired and went into real estate, and then thought, this is what I want to do now. And he said he wasn't working half as many hours, but he felt so drained.
Yeah.
And this is where I think we still don't have a firm scientific understanding of how that is. It's how we're feeling when we're in flow and we love something. We can keep going and going and going. But then when there's resistance and you're like, I don't really want to do this task, you're like, oh, I feel so tired and
so funny, isn't it?
Sticky. And
I talk about in the context of this podcast, like this, the start of this year has been so busy for me and so intense in so many ways. And yet my energy has just been up. Like I've got more on my plate, but I just put it down to I'm just doing the thing I'm meant to be doing.
That you love,
this is it. Yeah. Flow. Let's keep it flowing. So we don't know then is the answer. That energy can come, I think, from joy.
Yeah, but everything obviously has a sort of finite, you know, resource. Like we do need to make sure that we're looking after ourselves. But I think when we're in flow, we're maybe more likely to take a bit more time to nourish. We're in a good place, you know, we have all those sort of positive feelings. So the habits to keep us healthy and going are a little bit easier. And so sometimes it can be a bit misleading to sort of just put the energy in, energy out equation.
Can I bring in creatine? Can we talk about, because I think people just think of it as something that gym bros use, that builds their muscles. But how is it? How can it be used in the context of what we're talking about, and how is it positive for women? Like, what is it? Tell us a bit about it.
If you're thinking of energy like you're spending currency all the time, so you're spending money all the time on whether that's thinking or doing or moving, what creatine can do is it can just allow you to stock up your savings a little bit more, so you've got a little bit more to spend and a little bit more to go, which can give you more energy to be able to do more things. So in terms of a gym perspective, it can be really helpful, and you can see why it was a gym bro thing for so long, because it did give people better performance, more energy to be able to get the most out of their workouts, which meant building more muscle. But now where the science is going is we're seeing that energy is needed across lots of different systems. So it's helping support us cognitively. It's also helping support the immune system in different ways. And for women who go through different cycles of energy across their cycle, their infradian rhythm, there's different times when creatine can be leaned upon and used in the body. What we also know is compared to men, women tend to have less creatine stores, so we often have a lot more to gain from supplementing creatine, even more so if you're vegan or vegetarian, because we get creatine often from meat. So there's lots of different ways that we can include creatine, and a creatine supplementation can just top those levels up just to where we need them to be.
Just going to say, shout out to having a partner who makes sure that you are stocked up on everything. He'll just bring me all the tablets and the glass and go, drink that, have those, because I'm like busy.
But I think that's part of it, right? We're not supposed to do it alone.
Yes.
And like ancestrally, we would have had a community around us and people looking after us, and that is important too.